Hello and good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's insane episode of Breakfast with Boom. I am your host, Mr. Boomstick XL, and we have an incredible show for you today. As you can see, we got some medium gameplay going in the background so far. I am really enjoying it. Bloober team did an unbelievable job, and yeah, it's not terror that you're feeling. It's a really like mystery, but we're going to get into that in a little bit later. I'm just going to give some small impressions because on Tuesday, Pong Sol and I are going to be doing a reaction live show where we're going to be talking about our experiences, how far we've gotten. Hopefully I will have beaten it by the time Tuesday comes around. We'll be talking about the message from Bloober team at the end of the game, asking you for feedback and how to critique their game, which is pretty cool. And of course, we'll be giving our live on the air review. But for today, we have one hell of a show. And what's crazy is that normally when I prepare for these shows, you write up your show notes, you set everything up, and boom, you go. But last night we got some incredible information that set the gaming world on fire. Now, listen, acquisitions are hot topics, specifically with Microsoft, because quite frankly, they are looking to drop some coin. But when you start hearing rumors and you start hearing, grain of salt theories, you kind of, you got to temper your expectations. But when you start seeing people like Benji Sales get involved in the conversation, well, now we're starting to get a little bit of a percolation. But before we get into the topics, and as we wait for people to kind of file in, and hopefully our other two guests that are supposed to be here show up, let's get into the introductions. We're going to start with, of course, Crispy Bomb. Thank you so much for being here, brother. Hopefully you are ready for today's show. What's going on and what you've been playing? And more importantly, how the heck are you?
Oh, great, Boom. Good to be here. What is up, chat? Good to see everybody grabbing their coffee, ready to roll. I'm ready to roll as well. Let's go.
Well, thank you so much for being here. And yes, as I suspected, Dreadpool is here. Dreadpool, what's going on, brother? Welcome to the program.
Good morning, everyone. How's it going? Oh man, I am so pumped. I was playing medium,
Yeah, well, we're going to talk. We're
so
going to get into the medium. I'm quite enjoying it. It is exactly what I was hoping from Bloober Team. It is very reminiscent of Silent Hill, more specifically 2. The music is fantastic, and I'm enjoying myself. So I'm glad that you're playing it, so we get we can actually have a conversation. But next up. And last, and in no way least, Mr. Badbit, welcome to the program representing PlayStation Nation.
Hey guys, I woke up 20 minutes ago and I'm excited to be here, to be cognizant, to talk some. Because I got two, like the beginning topic. I got two sides of the coin out, so I'm pumped. Let's talk about some games. You know me already, guys.
Well, look, you know what? Let's rip the Band-Aid off and go right into it.
Yeah.
We are here today, like we are every Friday morning to entertain. And what better way to entertain? There are nearly 100 people that are already here than to talk about the medium. This is a game that is exclusive for the Xbox Series X and S, and of course PC. What's interesting and why it's substantial is, by the book technically, or the technical book I should say, this is really the first next generation title for the Xbox Series X and S, simply because you cannot play this on the OG Xbox One. And listen, this game is probably not going to be for everyone. It is a horror title at its core. A lot of people don't like horror, more specifically like Zemi Games, will not play this. I'm going to be honest with you, so far, and I'm about maybe 3 hours, maybe a little bit more into it. There have been some jump scares. There was a particular boss battle that was terrifying because you're just really running for your life. But for the most part, it's really like solving a mystery. You're using your medium powers to uncover secrets, and there are. I mean, this game is basically a giant puzzle. There are so many different elements on using your abilities on how to solve particular puzzles. And to be honest with you, they haven't been so mind numbing that you're like, I just don't know what to do. With clear deduction, I think you can figure it out. You know what? We'll go right first to Dreadpool. Dreadpool, for you, what has been your experience with the medium? Well, there you
It's
go.
been one of those days. It's great. I'm just happy that we finally get a chance to get into a game that looks great, plays well. It's different yet similar to what we've experienced before in the past. You mentioned Silent Hill, so reminiscent of that back days back then. But it's really cool. It's I'm still, I'm loving it. I'm just enjoying the fact that there's some ray tracing there. That not everything's shiny. You know what I mean? So it's just the way that everything is just put together. I really don't want to say much because I'm still trying to get into the game and not spoil it for many people.
Well, you know what? Again, I'm very early in, but I think that what we can say is that there is a vibe that you get that completely remains throughout the entire, I would imagine, campaign. Again, I'm only 3 hours into it. I'm kind of aggravated that the way Microsoft has been doing things with their releases is a bit of a conundrum. If I do have one complaint, is about why couldn't I play this till after 2 p.m. yesterday when it launches on the 28th? I just don't understand. It's so frustrating. I actually got up at midnight, figuring, okay, I can get an hour in, go to sleep, wake up. I know that the game is ready to go, and nothing. It's again, it's a small complaint. So obviously not the game's fault, but just annoying to say the least. I don't know.
I reported it to them, thinking that there was a bug. I was just, and someone mentioned, oh no, it's a certain time release. I'm like, are you serious?
Yeah.
Because I waited. It was like 10 o'clock yesterday morning, and I'm sitting there trying to play, and it won't work. It won't work. I'm like, here's a screenshot. Here's the report. Going through, I'm thinking, because I just got an update like twice so far this past week, and I'm sitting there like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And I had to sit there and wait until 12 p.m. before I was able to play, and I played 10 minutes, and I was like, this is it. I got to get some sleep. So in the meantime, I'm sitting there trying to play this, listen to you guys yesterday. And then after that, I just brought the phone with me to bed and listened to you guys until I crashed out. So everybody's like, "Hey, what's up?" And I'm, yeah. but I mean, it had me going. So this morning before we got on here, I was like, I'm getting back on this. So I did like a 15-minute stream just trying to go through and like find every nook and cranny just to see what I was missing, if I missed anything. But it's really cool. I even got the first achievement for looking around before you leave the level.
Oh, I will say this: the achievements are plentiful. There's no doubt about it. That's what I enjoy. Not so much that I'm unlocking achievements, which I broke 290,000 this morning. I'm trying to hit that 300,000, so I could say I got 300K. If you play the game, if you're interested in knowing the story, if you're going to take the time to investigate and read through things, achievements going to pop up like crazy. And I love that about the game. Not just because you're unlocking achievements, because they are rewarding you for just playing the game. And I think that is what I love about the achievement system. Joe, I know that you have it.
I got questions.
Yes. Well, you know what? Let's get to some of those questions.
Yeah. So the one thing that the medium, the big selling point on it, isn't that it's just like some type of weird spiritual successor or inspiration to Silent Hills 2, but it is also rendering the game twice. One in a nightmare mode, one in the regular world mode, right? How does that affect gameplay? Is it a gimmick, do you find, more often than not, or is it actually a useful tool that enhances the gameplay?
Well, I mean, what I can say is that it's a necessity to move
Mm.
through the game. I mean,
Mm.
sure, you can consider it. Well, it's a gimmick. They're just telling how she to solve a puzzle or something. But the reality is that she uses these powers
Yeah, so you're actively
to
using them. It's
yeah. So I mean, and again, here's the thing: that there's a lot of time where you're not. You there are certain aspects of the game that you use them. It's not on the fly or at will. There's a specific reason for you to use your
okay,
powers, and you'll see when she does. She gets like a migraine, and then the camera angle splits.
right, and then you're like,
Um,
okay, so it's more like it's like in moments, kind of like in Titanfall 3 when you're shifting back in and out of the future. Spoilers for Titanfall, sorry, 2, but you should have played that game because it's amazing. So that's what it's kind of like. It's kind of, but more of it, right?
Yes, I think that's probably the best way I can say it. It's
Okay.
you use these powers to solve puzzles from both
Mhm.
sides, one in the spiritual world, one in the real world. And sometimes you
Mhm.
need to
Hmm.
do both.
Yep.
Uh,
Um,
my other question for you, sir. You say this takes a lot of inspiration from Silent Hills, right? Which is fantastic because Konami ain't making no games. Um, is there like a pyramid head like enemy that's gonna chase you around and be a real creep?
well, you know what? I don't want to ruin it for anyone, but yes, the answer to that is yes. Yes,
Ooh.
there is. As a matter of fact, there's again the one particular um, uh, boss battle, if I can call it that you had with this thing.
Mhm.
It chases you, and there's a couple of aspects where there's some sneaking around this thing that you have
Okay.
to do. If you get caught, there
Mhm.
is a particular way to get out of it, but that only you're only able to do that once. Otherwise,
Then
then
you
you die.
just then he just cracks your neck. Okay, I assume, Um yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm glad to hear that you guys are enjoying it. That's for sure. For me, I downloaded it on my Xbox. I can't wait to try that out. Hopefully sometime tonight so I can have a better idea of what I'm working with here.
Definitely
Um
turn off the lights.
definitely turn off the lights.
Oh, you know
Turn
what?
off
I
the
will also
lights.
suggest that it tells you in the beginning. It's best played with headphones
Yes.
Oh yeah.
because there is a subtle track of eeriness and voices and
Mhm.
creepiness that you will miss if you don't play it. Now, granted, you can play the game because I didn't start off with headphones. I just wanted to experience the game, and but I will tell you that if you're looking for incredible enhancement, if you're looking for that dreadful kind of a feeling with this game, and it does offer that, it is probably best to play with headphones. I think you're cheating yourself out of the full spectrum of
Yes.
what the game is
Okay.
trying to do.
Yep.
Yeah, I always play with headphones on. That's always been my thing. I can't play a game without hearing it. That's always my number one thing. I have to hear the game. So like hearing of headphones, yeah, that's a no-brainer for me. I gotta do that.
Maybe you light a candle off to the side just to get that ambience, get yourself in
Yeah.
there. Yeah. So it's so yeah. Yeah.
Also, what I'm seeing here, uh, tank controls.
Well, that's the thing. One of the issues that I've seen from people that may or may not have a problem with is the fact that there are some fixed camera angles. Now, tank controls is a little bit yes and no, because you're not. It's not old school Resident Evil tank controls where you literally have to turn. You know what I'm saying? You don't have
Yeah.
any free movement. There's plenty of free movement, but there are some instances where it does heavily rely on fixed camera.
Okay.
This may or may not be I guess a grabbing point for you to play through the game.
Mhm.
But it does, again, listen, it does borrow a lot from classic survival horror.
Yeah.
And there is no free roam camera. You're not panning the camera
Yeah.
around you, which, again, I'm going to be honest with you. If you would have told me about this, I might have been a little bit apprehensive. But playing through it, it has not been a problem.
Okay. So
Yeah.
do you think real talk that could play as one of the factors of why its scoring is less consistent, where like you're seeing like GameSpot and IGN give it a 9, but you're seeing other places like, Destructoid and
I
I think Shocker's giving it around a 6 or 7. You think that like some reviewers are reviewing it and they're like, "Oh, this take controls, I missed this." And some of them are going, "Oh shit, fucking take controls. Okay, I'm out of here."
Yeah,
It could be.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think part of it is that dual-edged sword, where those of us that have played this style of games back in the day, the
Yeah.
controls are much, much more refined and better, cleaner, um, accurate versus
Mhm.
back then. And then those that are into first-person shooters and trying to play a game like this, you're thrown off.
Well, I'm just even thinking like with like Resident Evil 2 and 3 remake, right? Both those games having 10 controls, and I mean those are the bar, right? Like Resident Evil was those like weird, here's a literal camera angle, and you're moving throughout that room. You can't, you don't have the freedom to move around with that camera. And then you're seeing like Resident Evil 2 remake, Resident Evil 3 remake, kind of just doing that over the shoulder, vibe, but still giving you that claustrophobic feel, because for the most part, especially in 2, you have those tight corridors, but it's giving you that free camera movement. Is that similar? Because I've never played a Silent Hills game before, ever. Is that also similar to like Silent Hill games in the past? Because I want to know if Bloober is trying to hold true to that spiritual influence that Silent Hills has on the series. Does Silent Hills also have that type of camera movement?
I mean, it like I said, it has a very reminiscent feel of the old school Resident Evils and the old school, of course,
That's cool, dude.
Silent Hill, for sure.
Yeah.
There's just no doubt about it. I mean, look, here's the thing. This was not expected to be a AAA release. This is not a $10 million made game. It's just not. The Bloober team has its limitations, but I think that going into this game, not taking anything away from the developers, folks, this is a fantastic game. There are some aspects of it that really push the boundaries of the console. I think that, yeah, sure, some of the complaints that we've heard have been like the character model isn't fantastic, and
Right.
I would agree with that. I would agree that the some of the facial animation is not like top tier, but but again, it does not take anything away from what the game is trying to do. Now, obviously, if you see it running, it looks like it's running in slow motion. That's because apparently there's an issue when you capture things off of the Xbox. I found out this yesterday, and you record it. You put for set it up for it could be used for gameplay in the background. It slows it down when HDR is involved. I just found out that yesterday. By then, I already had recorded it, so whatever. But I just want to just grab a particular message in the chat that I saw, and I want to address it because it almost feels a little disrespectful to Bloober, and it's from Corey Chump. He says Bloober team is a single A team of 90 people trying to be a double A team, but we'll see. Well, you know what, dude? I got to be honest with you. I mean, are they a single A team? Because Layers of Fear 1 and 2 looked amazing, sold very, very well. The Blair Witch Project was fucking fantastic, pardon my French, and I kind of think you're being a little disrespectful because unless you're a developer and you can do this,
I think maybe it wasn't worded the best. I could see maybe what they're saying is like, they are a smaller team, and this is probably, I mean,
this is probably the biggest
most
thing that they have
ambitious.
done. Sure.
Yeah, so they're like, yeah, we'll see if this hits the mark. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I mean, look, all I know is this. I think people are very quick to press the judge button and not put themselves in the position of the and again, listen, like for instance, one of the worst reviews that I have personally read was the one from Joe. You talked about it yesterday from
Which one?
from Metacritic for the
Oh,
Medium.
Gaming Bible. There was like a
Game
3 out of
Bible.
10.
3 out of 10. I
Right.
read the review, and I got to be honest with you. Sometimes it makes me scratch my head because 3 out of 10 games for someone that reviews a game is a game that's
It has to be
unplayable.
fucking broken. Yeah.
It's basically unplayable.
Yeah.
Where if you pick something up, like for instance, if you would have told me that you played Cyberpunk and it looks amazing, but every 5 seconds your game crashed and it brought you back to the title screen,
Right.
that's a 3 out of 10,
Right.
regardless of how it looks.
Yeah.
So listen, I can't say that this is going to be anyone's game of the year. I think that what Bloober team was trying to do, they've delivered. And again, I haven't beaten the game. I'm only 3 to 4 hours into it.
Mhm.
But I can tell you that I am going to return to this game. As a matter of fact, it's the only game that I'm going to be playing until I beat it, because I really want to learn the story. I'm looking for collectibles, not just for achievements, because I want to know the backstory of what exactly is going on.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like from like everything I've gathered, it sounds like a fun 7. It sounds like a fun low late. 7.5, like around there. And that's
you know what? Again, I'm not going to give my personal review because we're going to do that on Tuesday. And again, I really want to play through the game, but it's not a 10, but it's not a 5. It's not even a 6.
That's why I say meta who. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I mean, yeah.
They're supposed to be a tool for us to use, and some of them use it as a tool to get attention.
Agendas. Yeah.
Exactly. And one thing, if I may, I was reading in the chat, Fen Solo was asking, are these puzzles difficult? And I'm gonna, from what I've seen so far, I'm gonna say it's a combination. I have not seen I haven't gotten that far into it.
You got to play the game, dude.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But from what I've seen, they're not that difficult. But I think they're varied, where you depending on who you are, where you are, and how much you're paying attention, they could be a little bit more on their difficult side, but they are some easy ones too. So it's not just, one-sided. Okay, this is a difficult game, kind of like Demon Souls. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a difficult game. This is how it is. So I think they have a little bit of variety to them, and some of them you actually find out that you solve the puzzle without actually paying attention because you just going through, going through the motions. So
yeah, because I'm real dumb when it comes to puzzles. Yeah.
So it's don't look at it as if it's a puzzle, stay away. It's
really
hard.
I
it's
think
not like that.
I'll put it to you this way, Dredd. I think the way that they do it, and I think that this is what I really enjoy about the game, because a puzzle can be a simple puzzle to get through a door. Like, let's say, for instance, Resident Evil 1. You had to move this statue over here. You had to move that statue over there, and a door opened for you, and you progressed through.
Mm-hmm.
As you're solving these puzzles, it's telling you a story. So if you care or you're invested in what is happening on the screen, then in my opinion, they have delivered on what they wanted to do, because the puzzle is a part of the story rather than the puzzle just being a part of the game, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Crispy Bomb, for you, I know that you don't have a Series X yet. You're working on it. We know that, but from what you've heard from us, what you've seen, what you're seeing on the screen, I believe, based on knowing you, I think I know you anyway. This is something you'd probably play with your girl. Are you excited to get into the medium?
You're right on point. This is more up my girlfriend's alley than myself. I'm more the crazy action, shooting people in the head type thing. I got to constantly be, challenged. It feels like this feels like more like my girlfriend loves to play games that relax. She played through Blair Witch. She enjoyed the heck out of it. Didn't
Okay.
it's some of the glitches that kind of turned her off a little bit, but she pushed through it eventually. She's played Tell Me Why. She's really into games like this. Very, simplistic, doing puzzles, stuff like that. It's almost like take her mind off stuff. Me, I'm like, give me some gears, give me some golf, something like it. So I'll probably
those are two very different types.
Yeah, but golf is fun in a different way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I just love it because you're like,
that is funny. I go from chainsawing somebody in half to getting a hole in one.
You get a hole in one though. It's like going on a 5-kill streak. You know what I mean?
That's true.
I like
it. Yeah, that's something that I get to enjoy. Just her enjoying it. You know what I mean? Because when we do get a Series X, it's going to be, that's going to be like a centerpiece for a long period of time. And, she hasn't really seen, we haven't both seen what this thing's capable of. And hopefully when we get it, they really have optimized a lot more games, and a lot more games are coming out just for it. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to, her enjoying it, and probably getting scared. I mean, you never know, but I do want to bring up the fact that, this is why Game Pass is so great, because, this game is not scoring well. I don't always agree with every, critic, by the way, because some of them I'm just like, did you even play the game? It doesn't even sound like you did. But at the end of the day, you got different scores because people are like, I don't like this type of game. I like this type of game. Me, I probably wouldn't give it a great score if I was reviewing it, but that's me. That's, so that's why Game Pass is here. So, my girlfriend gets to enjoy this. This game might not have been made if this wasn't happening. So,
something. And here's the thing. You said something that triggered, like a happy memory for me, because this is in Game Pass, right? And I think that when you turn around and you look at the overall helpings that are currently in Xbox Game Pass, and you start building big AAA games with AA games and single A games and some indie titles in there, and you kind of mix it all together, I think as a gamer, you have to walk away satisfied. Like I said, maybe this game isn't going to be for everyone, but if it is for you, and you do have Xbox Game Pass, here you go. Here is a nice 6 to 8 to 10 hour game that's going to tell a very creepy story. Now, again, here's the thing. I was listening to.
I don't like that guy with the mask. I can tell you that.
Yeah, well, you're going to get creepy shit like that throughout the whole game. I'm telling you right now. There's some stuff that's like, you're like, wow. Now, I am going to say this. According to the guys on the XCast, which of course is on Kind of Funny. They did the review. Paris was there. Of course, Snowbike Mike is there. Tim Geddes, who did not like this. He's only an hour in. He was like, "Yeah, it's just not for me." Greg Miller had some nice things to say about it. There's a particular part they kept mentioning when you get to the wheelchair part. The game completely blows the doors off. So I haven't gotten there yet. And I'm now hearing them say that has me very excited because I'm enjoying what I'm playing. And if you're telling me that the door is going to be blown off at the quote unquote wheelchair part, now I'm in.
Yeah, now I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
You know what? Real quick, Tim Brewster in the chat. I'm going to throw it up on the screen for you to see. He asks, on a scale of 1 to Hellblade, how are the puzzles?
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a good one because the Hellblade puzzles, man, some of them were a conundrum.
Honestly, God, I hope they just take them out of the next game. I couldn't beat Hellblade because I'm that dumb at puzzles, y'all.
No, they were difficult. I even had to. Mrs. Boomstick had to help me out with a couple of them. Like I can't see the pattern. She goes, let me take a look and see. Boop, she got it. Of course, she's like the Tetris queen, so she's really good with puzzles. Yeah. So I wouldn't say that they're on the level of difficulty for Hellblade. I think the best way to describe the puzzles is they put you in a room. And you have you have to hit your left button to get to activate your medium powers, and things light up for you, and you just have to put things together. Like there's a particular part where you had to develop a photograph, and you had to do it in order, and you had to hold each thing for 3 seconds, and you had to count, because if you'd burn the film, it'd be ruined. So you have to do the count for 3 seconds for each one, and put it on the lamp for 5 seconds, and the picture comes out, and then there's the puzzle. So there are a lot of little puzzles like that. Some are more difficult, some are more elaborate, where you got to go into 2 and 3 different rooms to find everything you need, then to come back to solve said puzzle. So it's not so. I don't think you're going to get to a puzzle. At least I haven't yet. That you're going to be like, damn, I got to go to YouTube. I got to go check this out.
Yeah, because that was my aggravation with Hellblade, where I eventually stopped playing on the PlayStation version, because it got to a point where I'm just like, am I just YouTubing this whole game? Because then I might as well just YouTube the whole game. And like that was my aggravation. I suck at puzzles. I like getting a little bit of challenge in there for sure. But like when I feel like the puzzles are too obtuse, then I'm just like, okay, this game's purposely being an asshole to my dyslexia. You know what I mean? Or this game's purposely being an asshole to my ADD. These sons of guns. So yeah, no. Glad to see it's not like that.
Yeah, what makes it worse, and that's Hellblade, was you were on the right track. You just couldn't make it match.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You were right there, but you couldn't make it match. And as far as I could tell, like I said, I haven't played enough, but as far as I could tell, it's nowhere that difficult. But
cool.
It seems that there is a variety in difficulty. So you just like Boom said, the film section, it's very easy, but it's difficult. You know what I mean? You gotta pay attention. It tells you certain things, and as you go from one thing to the next, you can burn it real fast, or you get what you're looking for. But you got to pay attention. It's all the cues you got to so it's not just listening; it's reading. There's a lot of visual cues that if you miss, you won't know what you're looking for. So you got to pay attention.
Yes, yeah, you definitely. Again, the best way I could describe how you should play this game is if it's a game that you enjoy playing, if you want to understand what is happening, and you're invested. I love getting invested in a story.
Mm-hmm.
I love getting invested in a character in a story, because it's the same way that me and Mrs. Boomstick, we really like sitting down, whether it be a movie or film, or a series that we're watching, or the new WandaVision, for instance, that we're going to watch today, which is supposedly off the rails, by the way.
Let's hope, because what, 3 episodes in.
The first 3 were. Listen, I'm going to be honest with you.
I like the third one a little bit more.
Yeah, so did I. Mrs. Boom loves the MCU. She really does.
Yeah.
Not so big fan of the DCEU, but loves the Marvel film. And she told me in her exact commentary for the first 2 episodes is like, it was like nails on a chalkboard for me.
Yeah.
I
like, you know what? This is not MCU cast. Continue.
we'll continue anyway. But listen,
I was going to get it off soft.
All I can say is this: my advice to you is, whatever you do, stay away from these sites telling you that the game is awful, or the sites telling you this is the greatest thing from sliced bread. I think what you need to do is simply play the game yourself. If you have Game Pass, it's there for you. I'm not going to say you shouldn't buy it. I'm not saying that you should buy it. I'm saying that if you like games that are telling a very unique story with unique powers, and you like horror, this is, again, not terror. This isn't the Exorcist. This is much different. This is more horror than it is terror. There are some jump scares for sure. Since what I've seen, I did get one boss battle that was creepy as all hell. Yes. So if you like that kind of stuff, you really should at least try it. Again, if you have Game Pass, and the question is, why wouldn't you have Game Pass? You should try it. But I do want to move on to the next topic, because we are 36 minutes into the show today. And I want to talk about, of course, PlayStation Plus. I think that this is worthy of a conversation, because this might be the best PlayStation Plus helpings in its existence. Folks, look, one of the things that gamers like are free games. And you get free games if you are a PlayStation Plus subscriber. And I know people are like, well, that's not really free because I had to pay $60. Well, I paid $31 for a year's subscription.
Yeah.
And I'm good until 2020, the end of 2023. Because I bought them like crazy. When they're $31,
You hop on that.
You have to. So for now with Xbox Live, you get these. This month we're getting 5 games, and one of them is Gears 5, which is great. But getting back to what Sony is doing this month is pretty incredible. First of all, Destruction All Stars. Now maybe this game is not going to be for everyone. It is basically Fortnite meets Twisted Metal. That's the best way I could describe this game. It has. It was actually made by the team that
Lucid
worked.
Dreams.
Yeah, they worked on Need for Speed Payback and Geometry Wars 3 Dimensions. And I gotta tell you, this was originally launching at a $70 price point. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't think the game would have sold anything at that point. I'm not saying the game is not worthy of it. I'm saying that it's a new IP. It's very, very limited. It's a driving game. So I don't know if people are going to jump on it. But to have this given to us, if you are a PlayStation Plus member, is dope. There's no doubt about it. It's definitely, if you are into like a vehicle-based combat game that features tons and tons of different characters to play, then this is probably for you. And the second game, of course, is Control, but it's not Control the regular edition. It is the Ultimate Edition that has the beefed up graphics as well as all of the DLC, which is pretty dope. All of the DLC that you would have had to pay for is obviously a part of this, and of course. The third game is one that I think did not get enough. I thought the game was an artistic masterpiece. It's. I mean, basically, you're running around with a magic paintbrush. Joe, what is a concrete genie?
Yeah.
Again,
Easy plat as well.
Easy platinum. Yes, that is very true. But more so, the game is freaking pretty gorgeous, to be honest with you. So, to be honest with you, these 3 games, at least in my opinion, are probably the best so far. Joe, what are your thoughts on this?
So we took this in a really interesting direction on the trophy room this week. Of they've done a great job. Sony has in the beginning of this generation to support people that have bought the console for the first time, right? Like they've given you, the indie stuff like Bug Snacks for sure for the first 2 months. Then they gave you something goofy with Maneater, and then they give you something that is pretty much some people's game of the year in 2019 with Control Ultimate Edition, coupled with Destruction All Stars, which, let's be frank about it. It's there because it didn't pre-order well at all, because it is a $70 multiplayer only or focus rather, a vehicle-based game. And to me, I called it bumper cars meets Twisted Metal. And even watching it, I was like, why isn't this Twisted Metal? But maybe
I agree. I'd love a new Twisted Metal, to be honest.
But like, real talk, I think it's because the art style maybe doesn't might not peel people towards it anymore. That said, it's been a great couple of months if you're a PlayStation Plus owner, and honestly, it kind of goes with the onus, because I'm more the multiplayer gamer and on the trophy room, and Kyle isn't, and he's a single player only guy, and he's just like, out of the stuff that I get on PlayStation Plus, it seems like every month or two they're just giving me a reason to pay $60 for this service. And honestly, for as an onlooker, for me, like, if I had to choose between the Xbox Live service or PlayStation Plus to lay my head at night, it'd probably be PlayStation Plus, clearly, just or solely for the games that I get. Yes, none of them are free, but for $60 a year, getting something like Destruction All Stars and Control Ultimate, that's awesome. Giving me a
That's
reason to
right
turn
there.
on my
It's the price
PS5.
of admission, though. See that's what people have to understand.
Mhm.
You're getting a PlayStation 5 game. It's exclusive for the PlayStation 5. So if you don't have a lot of games, hello, right?
Yeah.
So
And
all right.
I truly think it speaks to as well Sony's biggest strength as a console maker, which is its curation is just second to none. The way that they're able to pick games to feature, to pick games to push, is really something to kind of admire from them as a major corporation. And for me, what I was saying on the trophy room is like there has to be a way to get PlayStation Now at this level as well.
What? I'm hoping that the subtle hint that Jim Dancing Shoes Ryan said is indicating that PlayStation Now is going to somehow be roped into PlayStation Plus.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to increase the price or they're just going to
Probably,
get people into the service.
And that's and one thing that happened 3 days ago that just swam by all the news is John Codera, the man that had originated PlayStation Plus, PlayStation Network, pretty much all their service based.
He left. He retired, right?
He moved positions into something that hints that he is working on another service.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
maybe that's their Game Pass-esque type of service.
It's what I kind of want at the end of the day too. I don't want the direct, not to say direct comparison, but I would like something that is solely different and not just I copied your homework. I said this for I've said this for months now. If PlayStation puts their games day and date on a PlayStation Now service, those games have to change because they're single player focused.
Yeah.
You need either to go out like Microsoft is doing and buy half the industry, or you need to make them have a multiplayer component. And I don't want God of War to have a multiplayer component. I've seen God of Wars with multiplayer components. They're not worth playing to me.
No, there are some games that if you try to bake it in, it just ruins it takes points off of a great game trying to be the best. Like for instance, you're gonna get multiplayer and single player to both to fantastic levels in Halo and of course Gears. They did that very well in Last of Us. A lot of people really enjoyed action. A lot of people like that. But if you tried to bake it into something like Horizon Zero Dawn and there's a bunch of Aloys running around on dinosaurs, it would be gross.
Exactly. And you have to do that smartly. And how do you do that smartly? So and look, rumor has it like games like Horizon are going to have multiplayer components, but in like co-op. So maybe
and that's different. See that's where you appreciate it because you could get parts of the story told that you normally may miss if you don't do that co-op aspect.
Yeah. So great month, and it really does show that Sony, if they can do it, they can make a really great service. So I'm excited to see the future out of them.
Yeah, me too. Real quick, before I bring in Crispy Bomb in the conversation, I want to thank two people. First of all, Bounty Boom, a very generous friend of the show. He drops an outstanding $2 super chat and says, "Happy TGIF Boom and panel. I'm loving the medium so far." Yes, a lot of us are. I cannot wait for the show to end so I can get right back to it because that's what I'm going to do today. I'm taking the day off just to play games. It doesn't happen often, but I'm definitely going to do that. And Viper XT, who continues to be a very generous member of the community, he drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says, "Character animation aside, the detail and graphics are absolutely amazing. Really enjoying it so far." Yeah, listen, I mean, again, I'll be the first one to tell you, I'm not going to sit there and make excuses for Bloober. The character model, it could use some work. There's no doubt about it. But other than that, I really don't have any complaints. I'm actually quite enjoying it. But Crispy Bomb, listen, I know you don't got a PlayStation 5 yet. I know that's something that's going to be in the card sometime down the line. But when you look at what they're offering for free, if you're a PlayStation Plus member, what are your thoughts on it?
You're justifying the purchase, and you have to understand that these games were supposed to release some pretty pricey $70. So that's a good amount of money you're getting for just the subscription price. So I'm confused on what they're doing with PlayStation Plus and now. Like, you'd feel like they would put one of those games on PlayStation Now, and try to bolster that service. I'm thinking they're gonna start justifying a small price increase for PlayStation Plus if this is the route they're going.
It's it is a possibility. What I thought was going to happen, and I kind of still do, is when we heard, because Jim Ryan said that there was some big changes coming. So you don't know what that big changes are. He has also talked downwards about Xbox Game Pass not being sustainable for Sony. So when you hear those two things, my detective skills say that what they want to do is they want to bake PlayStation Now into PlayStation Plus and charge $10 more for $69.99. $69.99 a year. You get all of this. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what they're going to do. Now, I mean, like Joe said, I think if you're a PlayStation owner, everybody wants a Game Pass-esque service, though I don't know if Sony will do it, and their investors will sign off on that, or B, they can afford to do it. See, and again, this is not saying that your company is poorer than mine. Quite frankly, Microsoft has a significant amount of more money than Sony does, and they can take upfront losses
much higher.
At a much higher rate than
and that's Sony why I think when Jim Ryan says it's not sustainable for his company. For Correct. A company that has more money than the US government, they can do that stuff, right? for a company that literally, like, there's only really two divisions that print them a significant amount of cash, and one of them's being hit by a pandemic right now. That's not doable. It's just not. And so, I would love to see what their equivalent is. The last price increase for PlayStation Plus was it, I believe, 2016 or 2017. So and that was from 50 to 60. So I am interested to see where Plus goes from here, because a lot of people are like, oh man, these games are very expensive. How are they doing it? A lot of it is like is down to an economic point of, so 505, and this goes for YEC games, like all Control on Game Pass, is a lot of games they either get supported by them upfronting cash, going, hey, you're going to launch with this service on this day, and we're going to pay your development costs and then some, like you see with the Medium. Or some games that Control, what happens is their analysts do a little analyzing, and they go, okay, so I think we've hit what we can hit on the retail end, so let's throw it to a subscription service like a Game Pass, and let's go make some extra money there. And that's kind of how these services work. So like Control, great game, probably hit its market saturation a couple months ago. Also shady on 505's part, because that Ultimate Edition came out not too long ago as well. So like it's cool that we're getting it on some ends, but also to the people that paid for it, that sucks. 505.
Yeah, well, you know what? We did find out much, because a lot of people were hating on Remedy. I was one of them. I thought it was deplorable when they did that. But it turns out that it was beyond their control. As a developer, you only have so much say. Their publisher, 505 Games, is the one that dictated that it be sold separately. And then, of course, later on, we find out that not only Xbox Game Pass was getting it, but now it was given away for free on PlayStation Plus. So that soured a lot of people who went out and, well, maybe they didn't buy Control initially, but then went out and bought it when the new consoles came out. They're like, okay, I'm going to get some good graphics on this, and now it's free everywhere. Well, technically not free, but you guys know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
You have to be a member of each of the services to get it, but it's in there nonetheless. This is not a big topic. The big topic is coming up next. That is what broke late last night, and we have a lot to get into. But Dreadpool, your opinion on this? Is this a win for PlayStation Plus members?
Yeah. Well, why wouldn't it be? I mean, whether it's a $70 game or not, doesn't matter. You're getting a game, and if this is your type of game, if it brings back some Twisted Metal ideas or feelings, yeah, sure. When it just sucks when there's always the win or lose thing. You know what I mean? Any game that fits your play style or enjoyment is always going to be a win. Any game that's not, I mean, Concrete Genie for some sucked. For others it was beloved. So it just depends on the side of the fence you sit on. But either way, these games are good for everybody. It gives you, yet again, what do we say in Game Pass, right?
Variety.
The option, yes, exactly. We have the option to play any kind of variety of game, even though we don't like it or we think we might not like it. We'll actually play it, right? Games with Gold, the same thing. There's a lot of games there that most of us would not play or already own. So it falls in the same category. So it's always going to be a win in my ideas. The way I look at it, the outlook is it's any game, no matter the price, because look at GameStop. Well, how many games come out at $50, but they pay you $2? You know what I mean? So it's just the price that it's worth. Okay, this is what they say it's worth. The one game is $40, the other game is $70, and here you go. This is what you're getting in monetary value. But the value is not there, right? You're getting it for free. The monetary value is really what you're saving if you would have bought it yourself and how much enjoyment you get out of it. So not to be philosophical, but that's kind of
no. I mean, it's straight to the point, and it's the truth. Obviously, maybe like myself, you'll enjoy all three games. I beat Control. I'm playing through Concrete Genie, and of course, Destruction All Stars is a brand new game. I'll play it. Will I put 40 hours into it? Well, I don't. Who's to say? It may click something with me that I just find interesting.
Yeah, as an example, Bleeding Edge. A lot of people didn't like it. There were people that loved the game. So that being said,
also we got to rip Bleeding Edge because
that's why I brought it up. But yet again, there were people that actually did enjoy the game.
Yeah, and again, it's not a topic, and we're probably gonna get to it on the Xbox Factor podcast this week. But yeah, they're halting any additional content for that game. So basically, the game is dying. After 10 months, not a good look for sure. But I think that they did what they wanted to do with it. It was a passion project, according to all of the reports, and it's probably doesn't have a player count worthy of sustaining development. And obviously those development on a game that's active is taking developers away from making something new. And maybe they need to move those guys or gals over to Project Mara or help with Hellblade 2 and excuse me, and get that out. Well, listen. Hold on just a second, folks. I just got to grab a sip of water here, and we're going to be good. I do want to move on to, of course, the main topic of conversation. I think that everyone is going to have. First of all, we have almost 400 people here. That is pretty dope. First of all, I want to say thank you for taking the time to check out Double Barrel Gaming. If you're new, if you're someone that has just found this channel, I encourage you to please consider subscribing. It is definitely a channel that does not embark on console war nonsense. We talk about all three consoles. We love just playing games, and we like talking about them. And I have 4 live shows weekly. That's right, 4 produced shows along with videos. So I pour my heart and soul into this channel. And if you're new, please consider subscribing. If you're here, please, and you are enjoying the show, I have to say this because I get yelled at for not saying it by several of the big time YouTubers. You have to say, please hit the like button.
It helps. It
Yeah,
really
it's
does help.
more
Yeah.
than you actually know. It really does. But listen, folks, we got to get into the nitty gritty of why everyone is here. Now, late last night, we got word from an industry insider. Now, again, folks, take anything that we're going to discuss with a grain of salt. But it would be foolhardy to suggest that what we're going to talk about is not going to come true. Now, is it going to come true in the next 3 months? I couldn't tell you. But we do know that Microsoft is in the business of buying up developers and publishers. They did it with Bethesda. They did it with all of the talent they currently have, like Ninja Theory and Rare. Just the list goes on and on. And they're doing it because of what? Xbox Game Pass. But more so than doing it for Xbox Game Pass is, and I think this is a reality that people really glance over, is to get in the way of the Apples, get in the way of the Googles and the Amazons looking to suck up everyone for their own services. And Microsoft did the biggest boom last September when we found out that they purchased ZeniMax and, of course, Bethesda. Well, according to Game Rant, where I pulled this story from, a Reddit user that apparently is not only verified but has broken big stories before, by the name of Daniel K. I think it's pronounced. I think it's Kottian. Katane. Yeah, Katane. I think that's how it's pronounced. He had some very interesting quotes that are worthy of a conversation that I think is going to take up the remainder of the show. Here's what he had to say. I think you'll find in the coming months that a number of acquisitions are inbound that have been in the works for a while now. Or if the rumors that I am hearing are true. All I know is that the same gaming media that likes to cry consolidation of the industry will likely have some issues over the next year. Now, this is where, now look, Reddit, take with a grain of salt. Does it hold a glass of water to anyone? Look, you may live and die by what they say on Reddit. I personally don't. I take things with a grain of salt, but we have to.
I only take my investment advice from Reddit.
Yeah, well, apparently they know what they're doing, but you see, on its own merit.
Yeah.
The story has cheese holes in it for sure.
Sure.
But Joe, here is where we get into here is where it gets interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Benji Sales, who is
he's my best friend, by the way.
He's a good dude. He's a community. I would like to call him a community icon. I've heard him on the Iron Lords. He's a gentleman. He's a friend to the community, and more importantly,
my best friend.
Well, your best friend, not my best friend, not yet, but he knows his shit. Well, he said on Twitter last night after this broke, here's what he had to say. Rumors are floating around Microsoft is looking to make another Bethesda level acquisition in the near future. And this is where it gets interesting, folks, because now we're starting to talk money. Last quarter was the first time in history the gaming division made over $5 billion in revenue in a quarter. Folks, let's pause for a second. Okay? Let's just stop the show for a second and try and let that sink in. We're talking $5 billion with a B in 90 days. Okay? For the Xbox division that currently does not have at its fingertips the new Halo, Fable, Avowed, Perfect Dark, Hellblade 2, I was going to say Project Gotham. I want a new Project Gotham, by the way. Forza Horizon Motorsport or Horizon.
Right.
Joe, this is pretty epic, and I think that again, no one in the chat is going to suggest that I didn't see that coming. Wow, I'm shocked, and they're going to go and smoke their pipe. No, we all knew that they're buying another big publisher / studio because Satya Nadella said he was. They're always looking. The question is, and according to this rumor, and I quote, a Bethesda level acquisition. So now my brain starts to run rampant. Are they talking about Square Enix? Are they talking about Sega? Are they talking about Capcom? What are they talking about? Because to say Bethesda level acquisition, you have to have as many IPs. You have to have as many AAA IPs that have what the kids call bangers. Joe, with the information that we have in front of us, with the verified Reddit user, with Benji Sales getting into the conversation, where do we go from here, and how credible do you think that this actually is, and is it going to happen?
So I like what you said earlier. This is the get in the way of Amazon, Google, because that is Microsoft's true competition. I think it's the biggest threat, if we're taking a SWOT analysis of this, is Amazon, because a lot of people don't know this, but a lot of games off the back end, most importantly Fortnite, use Amazon servers. They are actually an integral part of the gaming industry on the back end of things, not just of Luna. They are the comparable ones to take on Microsoft. Not just that, but Amazon will throw money at something until you maybe notice it.
Indeed,
Prime Video being one of them, right? They will throw as much money as they can to make sure that man in the high towers, like that type of
high
stuff.
castle.
High castle. What did I say? High house.
No, I said high towers.
Oh, high towers. Like I mixed Lord of the Rings with it. So, for me, I'll put my Bernie hat for a second here. I don't like this. I really, I can see where this ends. And while it's exciting now, it is not that great in the future, because Microsoft preemptively doing this, where we're already starting to talk about, we're already getting in a conversation of these tech companies. Yeah. Like we're talking about right now breaking these tech giants up because they're way too big, they're in way too much, and they have way too much influence, right? So like when we're taking a look at, and it's not just Microsoft, we're talking about Apple, we're talking about Google, we are talking about Amazon too. They're just in way too much. And so when I take a look at like the gaming industry, like Reddit user, like the people that are going to cry consolidation, you're going to have plenty to sob about. It's true. I will have plenty to sob about. I don't like that idea of not just Microsoft. It's little to do with them, more of Amazon, of Google, if they want to, or it looks like want to be serious about it, going up there and going, hey, we need games too. So infrastructure is one thing. How much is EA? Right? Or like, how much is an Ubisoft? And then all of a sudden we're doing what we're doing now with TV, whereas in the beginning, you had Netflix. Netflix was a bastion of all the good stuff, and now now you're deleting your cable box. And in answer to that, we now have HBO Max, we now have Hulu, we now have all these other little services here or there. That's the thing that really and at the end of the day, those services adding up, and is it really saving you money in the long run rather than getting that cable box, right? Was ripping the cable box out of your home really worth it? So that's my one fear, is that we get to this point where now, in order to be that gamer, we have 4 or 5 different $20 subscription services to make that possible. Microsoft's intention is to get so much influence really fast that an EA, Ubisoft, and all these people throw their games into that service so that it avoids that consolidation. They rather be that one big top dog, have the monopoly in the marketplace, subscription services wise, while Amazon and Google are sitting out. But I don't think that's the case. I don't think it's also a realistic case. So on one hand, I don't like it. I always want to say, champion, let's, instead of buying major publishers, how about we just buy developers? Like, the ones that
There
really
are several, Joe, that I really wish Microsoft would pick up.
Yeah.
Bloober Team is one of them. Asobo is
Exactly.
another.
Exactly.
People Can Fly is one I think that could bring justice. Some really good developed games to that. I think again, my wish out of this whole entire thing is I like Bethesda. In fact, I think it was an incredible purchase. But
Yeah.
for me personally, the one that has been talked about, the one that jumps off the page, the one that is the most relevant to me as a gamer who's been gaming for 40 plus years, is Capcom. If they, I'm just trying to imagine a Resident Evil that's exclusive. Like it's pretty incredible. Now again, I don't know if Capcom would be for sale, because if you told me this in 2016, I would have told you yes. But
Yeah.
2017, when they had back-to-back bombs in Resident Evil 7 and Monster Hunter, those two games alone put the company back in black.
Yeah. And so, like, and that's kind of my fear as well, is this like that one day of, like, again, not just Microsoft, of just like Amazon going, okay, so how much is an Ubisoft? I don't really care. Buy them. And then all of a sudden, the only way we're getting Ubisoft games is if we're going through that Amazon service.
Yeah,
That scares me.
Mhm.
And that's why it's, I take the fanboy hat off. I would be the same exact outrage as this is Sony. Absolutely. It just goes against my personal MO about the relationship between companies and people. And so for me, I get worried for this. Now, let's take that hat off. Now let's have some fun, okay? All right, everybody. Safe Joe says, wear a seatbelt, wear a helmet. I'm telling you now, Fun Joe's here. Take that belt right off. Okay?
I love it.
What I would like to see, if we're purchasing things, a lot of people go with the Japanese studios. Everybody's like, Microsoft needs them. Microsoft needs them. I doubt it. I don't think they need them as much as people want them to be in the Microsoft umbrella of things. I think right now you can have enough influence for a Japanese publisher, if you get to that 25, if you get to that 30 million mark, to make a Persona on an Xbox. Don't think you need the company to do that necessarily. So, when I take a look at like the Japanese companies, they are mid-tier publishers. I don't think Microsoft necessarily needs them, because you're seeing them break their marketplaces by just having xCloud in there. Not to mention, Xbox still, as like a console maker, does not do well in Japan, right?
Yeah,
like they're selling 700 consoles there. So like when people are like, they need this, I'm like, I don't think they do. I think they could stay on board right here, right now, and they're going to be completely fine. So I don't think a Capcom's in the cards. I don't think a Square Enix is either. Also, Japanese companies, the mistrust they have with American ones, I don't know. Sega could be. And again, but wow. If you're making a Persona, and a lot of people forget about this because I barely know it as well, Persona would be still multi-platform.
I would imagine so, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if only, probably the only thing that changes, maybe you put it on a Switch as well. But like that, Persona sells better than Final Fantasies. So like there is no way you're putting that on just an Xbox. There's just no way. As a business sense, none. So, for me, you still want a westernized company. And I think if you're Microsoft, I think you want a company that's going to give you, I know people are going to hate this, but they want some Game Pass games in there. And I think what better of a company that can make those Game Pass games than as Deep Silver, right? You're getting your GTA likes with the likes of Saints Row. You're getting some more of the AA stuff as well. And at the same exact time, you get Techland, I believe, might still be a part of that company. You get Dying Light.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. So you get a whole bunch of IP that maybe aren't being used as well. And then, you infuse them with cash. Makes a lot more sense to me than anything else out there. Sega, again, that could be it, strictly for Atlas, but even then, I don't know. That was my long rant. I'm sorry it was so long.
No. It's a great answer. It's a the whole point of these conversations is to become to have them become thought provoking, right? That's what we're all here for. We have almost 400 people in the chat, and people are here to hear our opinions on this. And I'm going to go to Dreadpool next because Dreadpool dropped something in my in the Breakfast with Boom DM that's really interesting regarding Sega. But before I get to you, Dread, let me just catch up on 3 of the super chats came in. First of all, RRD drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, just want to show some love. Keep up the hard work. Well, thank you, dude. Super appreciate the generosity. We also have another one came in from Reverse World for $5. Says, the saying goes, I buy PlayStation for exclusives. Once these big purchases go through, how ironic would be if those are the only games left? That's an interesting theory. I'm gonna be honest with you, and I'll say it. I have a PlayStation for their exclusives. That's why I play. If I was given a game for free like Control, I might play it, but I've already played it on my Xbox. So I'm gonna stick around for Sony's games that a lot of people scoff at. They don't like the over the shoulder, story driven, adult themed third person game. Well, I do. I like single player games, like Joe's friend Kyle. I'm a single player guy first because I like story, I like character development, and I'm old. I grew up when single player games ruled the roost, so to speak. But that's an interesting theory, Reverse World. Thank you for the comment, but more importantly, thank you for your generosity. And Viper XT, my goodness, dude, he continues to bless Double Barrel Gaming with an additional $10 super chat and says, because there are restrictions on buying Japanese studios, I wonder if the ZeniMax purchase was their backdoor way of being able to buy a Japanese studio publisher now that they own Tango Gameworks. That's interesting. I think from what I understand the inner workings of how foreign business works. But Microsoft has roots in Japan because they have an office, an Xbox division in Japan. Now, it's not a big office, but they've been there for years. And I think that in order to buy a Japanese company, you have to be able to have roots within the country of origin. And I think they've been there long enough to allow for a purchase. Now, is it going to happen? I don't know. But Dreadpool, I want to get to you on this because you did drop the Sega Sammy article in there that of course was in Japanese, and I had it converted to English, but you understood what the inning workings, what was going on with that, and could Sega be the big one?
Okay, well, first of all, Viper XT, there are no restrictions. It's just business. So the false narrative of American studios or companies cannot buy Japanese companies, that's false. I used to think that way too until I was pointed out differently, and I started doing some research. So you can buy it. You don't have to be established there. It's just more red paper. Okay, so that's all it is. Now, yes, back to what you asked, Boom. When it comes to a lot of restructuring, most businesses, when they start doing that, and this is from personal experience, okay, so it's not just gaming, it's the company I work for is worldwide, okay, and I've gone from small mom and pop and grandfathered it in all the way from bigger and bigger and bigger worldwide, and then bigger worldwide, okay. When they restructure, they're looking to cut costs, they're looking to be more profitable, and usually when they do that is they're looking to sell. They're looking to sell something, okay? Usually it's the whole company, so they're looking to merge it with another bigger company to bigger, but you want to have good profits, so you want those CEOs and the investors and everybody, they want as much money as they can get out of that. So when you cut your losses, you cut all the no more pens, no more paper. You know what I mean? The bare minimum that you can have going
No
out
more
and
workforce.
collect. Yeah, well, yeah, no, seriously, that too. No more workforce. You hire contractors. You know what I mean? and you minimize your internal workforce and push everything out, so that way you show you're collecting more and establish more value than you're actually worth. Okay, this is what they do, and when they're doing this, and it looks like they're splitting up into two different companies within the one Sammy company. So if you read it, it looks like they're doing two different divisions, and obviously with what I do, I'm in one of those divisions where when my company sold, they sold us off. The company that bought us sold off one of their other divisions that was less profitable, because we were more profitable because they bought us for that, so that way they can get away and sell away another part of their company. You know, they have so many divisions. That's how big we are. But they bought us, and we were actually three different companies under one umbrella. Okay, and they got rid of their shittiest company that they had under there. Okay, so this is kind of a corporate thing anyway. This is how business is. You know, you weed out the chaff, and you know, you just want the best that you can for your money, your value, and everything. And this is what they're doing. So with that being said, I'm going to do the Simon Cowell. Ubisoft, that's a no.
Yeah.
We already know that they don't want to be bought. We've already had that.
Well, they tried the
scare.
hostile takeover a couple of years ago, and they fought it tooth and nail. Yeah.
Yeah, we already had that scare. For us, it was a scare. I'm sure it was probably more than that for them. But yeah, so I don't see that happening. Would I want them to? I wouldn't mind. I realize I play, because just looking back, I play a lot of Ubisoft games. Didn't realize it. I never thought of myself as a Ubisoft fan. But when I look at my catalog, I was like, holy cow, I do have a lot of Ubisoft games. So I guess I am, you know, not unknowingly. I like their games.
Yeah,
so,
that makes
I would
two of us,
want
yeah.
that. But it just, I know reasonably it's not going to happen.
Right.
But I'm going to go back to what I've always said, and Boom knows this. Sega is my company to buy for Microsoft.
Yeah.
They've already had, from the day one, we are right now, Series X and S is basically Dreamcast 5 X and S.
Pretty much, yeah.
It's pretty much there, plain and simple. They've helped out Microsoft from the get-go. The console, the OG Xbox is very similar to their arcade cabinets. I mean, there's a lot of different things. I mean, yeah, it's not exactly one-to-one, but there's a lot of similarities there. There's a long relationship. Didn't we have a long relationship with Bethesda, with Todd Howard, right? You see what I'm saying? They've had a great relationship, even though they haven't had anything going back and forth like all the time.
I mean, I could see you, like, again, like, I think you had a word there with, like, Atlas games. Like, all of a sudden you free up that exclusivity, and now in the West, people that, like, look at Yakuza, maybe even like a Yakuza, like, effect of, like, look, Yakuza doesn't sell like hotcakes, right? It's not
it's a niche title for sure.
Yeah, it's a niche title, but you're introducing that title to your audience, and that's the most important thing that I feel like a lot of people kind of lose out on when we get into the brass tacks of it. Is you're introducing them to, and then telling other people that may be excited about Game Pass, but you know they don't have as many games to play, and that's maybe the sole reason why I know a lot of people. Sole reason why they're on a PlayStation full time is because of the JRPGs, like
the demographic that's on there. That's all it is.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the funny thing is we do have a huge demographic that love JRPGs here.
Yeah.
You know,
Sure
obviously
we
not
do.
as huge, but it's still growing, and the more people that experience these type of games, the more chance that they'll actually like it. You know what I mean? There's more of a chance to be there. I mean, don't we have a lot of the Yakuza games now on Game Pass?
You'll have all of them
You see,
by March.
exactly. But you see what I'm saying? You're bringing it in here. And don't forget, Sega has a bigger catalog than the big names that we know. There's the older catalog from when we were kids. There's other catalog games, like you said, you know, Atlas games that a lot of people forget is Sega. You know what I mean? So there's a big, huge catalog there for these games that they can bring over. Some of them they kept away from us for whatever reason. We don't care. We don't know. Not a big deal. But guess what? Now we have the opportunity to get to those games.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, you know, when you look at a big acquisition potentially, like someone like a Sega, you're going to be getting a lot of teams. But you're also going to be getting a lot of IPs. And when you look at their storied history of IPs, quite frankly, there are a lot of them. Obviously, you get a mascot in Sonic. You know, obviously you're going to get Virtual Fighter. You're going which is, I believe, still relevant. You know, you get Sega GT. You know, there are a lot of what's a spray painting game?
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Jet Set Radio.
Jet Set
Radio, yeah.
And that's a classic that could come back. I mean, look, I'm going to be honest with you. I would not turn away a Sega purchase, but that's not what I personally want. I don't necessarily know if what Sega has, because I know, Joe, you had a different opinion on this. You said that, you know, they have
Persona, and like for Persona, and like for the Atlas division alone, it could be something.
Well, that's all the JRPGs that they want to bring over to the Xbox, right? Yeah. I mean, that's what everyone has been that's what everyone has been asking. So, you know.
And here's the thing, though, and I'm going to be like real and blunt. Is that really what they want? Because we hear it for sure. Oh yeah, Xbox needs more JRPGs. They need this. They need that. But then when push comes to shove, it's 80% PlayStation, 20%, Xbox for games like Kingdom Hearts and for games like Final Fantasy.
Well, so I'm sorry, but that's also the fact that not every Xbox gamer is going to go to that. But at the same time,
again, it's not for everyone.
You want Xbox over in those markets, and that's where they're not. So that opens up that market also.
Yeah, but I think even just with xCloud, it opens that up more by, because I think we've seen it with with South Korea, and I think they even released Japan numbers of just like it's Xbox is up 300,000%. You know what I mean? So like I think they could do it with the service that they have. I think is the most appealing thing to that audience because it is a more mobile audience.
When I was saying Xbox, I wasn't meaning only consoles. I was just meaning the whole family of Xbox. But that's the thing; they're not there yet with all of that. But it opens it up. Now you can get Game Pass in Japan. And you've got Yakuza, you've got Shinobi, you've got Altered Beast. I'm reading some of the comments, so yes, I am cheating off of you guys. But you know what I mean? You got all these older games that are out there, and now they're on the Xbox family service, whatever you want to call it, platform. Okay, so you don't have to buy an Xbox. But you could still be an Xbox player.
That's the magic. That's the magic question, right? Because Microsoft, even though they would love to sell 10 million Xbox Series S or X in Japan, that's not what they're going for in that region of the world. The reason why Game Pass launched in both Japan and Korea is because xCloud launched in those countries. And 10, 15, even 20 years ago, people used to wait in line 2 days in Japan to get a console. That's just not what they're about anymore. They are a mobile market, and mobile markets are part of those 3 billion gamers that Microsoft is trying to get. With that said, what better way to have those gamers who play on their phones, who play on their tablets and play on their computers at these cafes they have all over the place, than to have them pay $15 per month for the ability to play a new Yakuza or a new Sonic. And again, we have to understand that there's a reason why that Smilegate has teamed up with Remedy to make that game for Korea, the Crossfire X.
That's right.
Crossfire X is getting a facelift. It's still one of the most popular FPS shooters in Korea, right? Because Smilegate is from that region of the world. That game is as big as Counter-Strike. It could potentially be bigger. So that's coming to Xbox Game Pass, and that is going to be available for that region of the world for those gamers to enjoy. And then you look at Japan. You say, well, what could Microsoft bring to the table that would get Japanese players excited? Fantasy Star Online 2, and they have a new one coming out on top of that.
See, and that's the thing that we also forget. Okay, we're still in the mindset because we are, um, everybody here in the panel are in the States, right? So we forget they have internet cafes in Europe and in the Asian markets. Okay, um, not everybody can go get internet. Not everybody can do that, especially as young children. But they can go to an internet cafe, get online, and play these games. Um, they're making money digitally. So if you go like that with that process, right? Because we're so used to physical, having something physical in our hands, having something physical to put our discs in. You see, we're still stuck on that kind of that mentality. The rest of the world has already expanded beyond that, and like you said, they're digital. They're on their phones, or and that's where a lot of our kids are now. They're always on their phones or their tablets, right? They don't have a disc. They don't know. They just push a button, the game downloads, and they start playing. All right, that's what my daughter does. She's 7 years old, and she's playing all these games on her tablet. Okay.
Well, that's her generation, though. That's what they grew up with.
Well, my cousins, I'm the oldest of both sides of my family. My cousins didn't have the opportunities we had to play on Genesis and play with the cable modem hooked up to the Genesis cartridge as it's plugged in so you can play Sonic. Okay, they didn't have any of that stuff. It was magic to them, like it was voodoo, right? I go over there and I'm going to internet cafes over there so I can keep on in touch with everybody here on Facebook and ordering tires for my drag racing car. You know what I mean? And they're like, "You're doing what?" I'm like, "Yeah, I need to go to the internet cafe so I can get online." They couldn't grasp that. Okay, and this was like probably 15, 20 years ago. Okay, but this is, to them, it was economical. Okay, it's easier to go there. All you do is just sit there and rent a space, and you sit there and you play whatever game you want for however long you want. You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't cost them as much as it costs buying a console, trying to get internet at your house, you know what I mean? A lot of that infrastructure is not there. It is now, but it wasn't the last time I was there. Okay, and like I said, that was like 15, 20 years ago. It was not like that, and it's been building up. And we have so many friends now. Everybody here that's here is from all over the world, right? So the infrastructure worldwide has gotten better. So don't you think digitally the infrastructure has also gotten better? So if you're going to make a console for the Japanese market, it makes sense to make it a digital console, basically virtual, right? You don't have to sell nothing. You just sell Game Pass. You sell the service to get on xCloud. You sell that stuff to them. They're happy. They can play these games. And why not get more Japanese games for those customers to come back in? You know what I mean? That's really what it is. Because now if you're going to make a console, that's a loss until you can make that money back by them purchasing more games or falling into the ecosystem somehow. And it's an easy way in. Especially, like I said, they're already there. They're already ahead of the curve. They have the faster internet speeds than we do. For even some of who's got Google Fiber? Not very many of us. I know we don't have it over here on this side of the coast.
I don't think we have it even here, to be honest with you.
The best
Google
thing
Fiber?
we got Boom's
That's Cali. I know Cali's got it, but I
Yeah.
think they were supposed to come this way towards the east, but I don't know how far they got before they stopped.
They're doing a lot of it in the south because it's cheaper for them to do the.
It also, there's a lot of places in the south are rural areas, and they have trouble with the internet there, getting the strong signal. So it would make sense. Real quick, I want to just catch up on some of the super chats because we've actually had quite a few come in. First of all, a good friend of the show, LMNOPO, drops an outstanding $2 super chat and says, "Happy Friday, Boom and gang, always listening. Well, we're glad that you're here and thank you for your generosity." We have Infinite Double A, another generous friend of the show. He drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says, "I think that Ubisoft is more likely than Sega. Sega is a harder sell because of the stipulations of Japan company buyouts by American companies."
Already proven wrong. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's still something there. I think that the Japanese community is more tightened, where they're just not going to let foreign soil onto their property. So I don't know if
Yeah,
that's
and
what
that's the
it is.
biggest thing. It's not so much like, it's harder to buy them. Sure, it's do they want to? Because there is
Do they
mistrust.
want to? Is yeah? That's the real, and that's again
I
that's the
could
crux of the
Because like
agree with
conversation.
that. Yep.
Yeah.
yeah, because like the only company that really is like is a Japanese company that's embraced its American roots, y'all, is PlayStation. Only company
Sony,
that's done it.
yes, yes,
So like
and yeah.
yeah, and even then, like because of that, they lost a lot of ground in Japan. So yeah, that's something to think about for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Ape 2020 drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says Sega also has more family friendly games. Uncle Phil has stated he wanted those. Yeah, I mean they have a family game. It's called Banjo Kazooie. It's called
That's right.
Cameo.
That's right.
I
We don't need
don't.
a Sonic.
We, I,
Sonic was never good after the Genesis era. Let's leave that garbage behind. Let's
I
embrace
love
the future
Sonic
that's
Adventure,
Banjo.
dude. I would love a reboot on that.
I like a reboot on Banjo Kazooie. That's what I'd like.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Victor Alistine drops a very generous $5 super chat. Says, I think Microsoft can take Sonic to new heights. I absolutely agree. A Sonic game or in an Ori-like format, WB would be a must. The superhero craze is still dominant. You know what? That's another one. We know that there. Listen, folks. I can't confirm. I have been hearing, the word the two word the word WB in many circles. WB, which of course is owned by AT&T, they're having a ridiculous amount of issues over there right now, and they're bleeding money everywhere. They didn't HBO Max didn't take off like they wanted. It's going to with all the big movies coming out that's dropping day and date, but there's a lot
It's
of
better. It's better than Netflix. I'm here to say I'm here to fight for HBO Max.
Well, I like HBO Max. I don't know if it's better than Netflix, but I will say that there's some issues going on there. So WB is always a possibility. And a good friend of the show, John Mitchell, drops an outstanding and very generous $10 super chat and says, "Keep up the good work, boom. Big fan what about Ubisoft or Square Enix? Yeah, those two are possible." Again, Ubisoft, man, they make a lot of money, but I don't know. And
Yeah,
Square
Ubisoft
Enix,
likes to be independent, but Ubisoft you can make deals with. I think that's the most important thing a lot of people forget here is Ubisoft will try anything. Okay,
yeah, they
Ubisoft
will.
is in college right now; it's ready to experiment. So like they will make a deal with anyone. You'll even see it with Stadia as well. So like you don't necessarily need to buy them because they're always open to new things.
Well, their
So,
Ubisoft Plus is supposedly rumored to be added to Game Pass, and
exactly.
that announcement is coming. And we
Mhm.
have that on good authority as well. So, I mean, obviously, we saw EA jump into the ring with Game Pass and Ubisoft Plus. Man, if folks, do you understand that if they and think about this for a second, and Joe, you're really onto something here
Yeah.
because they wouldn't have to buy Ubisoft, but if Ubisoft Plus was added to Game Pass and Microsoft dumped a huge amount of money into Ubisoft, say, listen, we want that service because the one thing with Ubisoft games that they
Mhm.
make money on the back end is through cosmetic
Right.
microtransactions. Like now, they get me every time. Like I see a Pegasus that's on fire that I can't get in the game. Well, I'm going to drop $20. I did
Mhm.
it for Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I wanted that Pegasus because I'm a big fan of Clash of the Titans. Not the I like the new ones, but the original one. And I'm
Right.
like, I really want that Pegasus. So when I fall off jump off a cliff, I just float down like a graceful angel. And I bought that. And what they could do is get that money on the back end through microtransactions. But to have that in the service, folks, I mean, it's just madness to think that along with Microsoft's 23 first party studios with 35 plus teams and growing, you could potentially get Ubisoft day and day games. It's madness. It's just
Yeah.
complete madness to even think about. But you know something? That would be again, it's one of those cherry on top situations that you're like, Jesus, can this service get any better? The answer is Yes, it could. So, John, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. And more importantly, for you listening to the show, because at the end of the day, that is really what's important. We got to have people in here. And we have over 400 people here. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to stop by, hang out, drop some comments into, of course, the chat. And this is a chat that is a safe space. We do not tolerate bullying. We do not tolerate trolls. I already had to message someone. And obviously the community lets me know, bro. And Lethal Papa, I'm not sure if you're here. I think he probably is because he's always lurking with a very big band stick. So if you are a DICK, you're going to get the BOOT. So don't do that. Come and hang out, have some fun, put your comments in there. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. And just don't be a D-bag. It's Friday. Come on. The new game's out. Everyone should be just having fun. But I do want to go to Crispy Bomb because, Crispy, you have been very, very opinionated about the potential acquisitions of bigger studios from Microsoft because you believe that the more value Game Pass has, the better chances are they're going to. And again, I really want to say this, that people seem to get this twisted. When I say you're going to get PlayStation fans, the guy or gal that has a PlayStation fan isn't going to go and pack their shit up and then go to GameStop to buy an Xbox. No, that's not what's going to happen. No one's abandoning their favorite platform. But there's no rule book. There's nothing in the rule book that says someone can't enjoy. Like for me, I'm an Xbox gamer first. I am very clear as glass. Everybody knows that. I just broke 290,000. I'm going to hit that 300,000 in the next month or so. That's a big deal for me. But that doesn't mean that I don't enjoy my PlayStation 5 as just as much, because I do. So I think that if you can make an investment that's going to lure people to be like, you know something? I need a second console because this deal, I just cannot look away. For you, Crispy, when you start hearing people like Benji Sale start bringing in these rumors, if you will, I think that there's certainly more smoke now than there was before. What do you think, bro?
Absolutely. I mean, you only have a few companies that really have such large buying power, and all of them seem to be getting into the same part of gaming, the streaming based, the subscription based. So you have to understand, what is a Bethesda level acquisition? Yes, Microsoft paid $7.5 billion for them. You have to realize that Bethesda's value around the time, these are all approximations, by the way, was about $3 billion. Okay, so they basically paid almost double for Bethesda, ZeniMax. So then you have everybody keep saying Ubisoft, right? So you think of their value. As of yesterday, this is approximations, they are constantly changing. They are worth $12.7 billion. So you'd potentially have to pay up to $24 billion. That is far beyond a Bethesda level acquisition.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. You have Square Enix as of yesterday, valued around $5.7 billion, a little bit closer to a Bethesda level acquisition. Okay, then you have Capcom, $7.37 billion. Okay, and then you have, everybody says Sega, right? Well, $3.35 billion. So that would be almost the same amount of money they'd be paying for Sega.
Yes, correct.
So this is me saying, look, Ubisoft, I mean, they're just too large of a company for Microsoft to justify right now absorbing them, because they have too much revenue and they're worth too much. And they really have gotten, some really good games out there that have not flopped. So they're not hurting. Now, Sega doing all this restructuring, yeah, it kind of seems like something's going on. And then even you could throw out there CD Projekt Red is worth around $3 billion, and they just lost $1 billion this past month. So, I mean, it's really up in the air, and because the values change, you still Microsoft's gonna have to pay at least double, and because the potential value has to be put into the contract. That's why it costs so much more than ZeniMax was worth. So, I mean, it's a little wild to think about. Game Pass, I would rather have Microsoft buying them than a Google or an Amazon or even an Apple, because I feel like infrastructure that Xbox has gives the gamers at least the opportunity, even if they're locked behind the system or the company itself, to be able to easily get to these games. So, for example, if you don't want to buy a Series S, you have a really good computer or something like that, you can play on there, or you can go and use your phone and just have the xCloud. So I mean, I if anybody's going to buy them, it might as well be Microsoft. I know, nobody ever says Sony, because Sony just does not have the revenue to do this.
Right.
It would have to be like a multi-tiered, like, infrastructure type crazy thing that they would never even bother with. They'd rather just develop a couple new studios. That's the way they would do it. Yeah. So that's just, it's mind-blowing that we're even talking about this again, because we were at WB, it was like a shadow thing, and then all of a sudden they're like, no, we bought ZeniMax. No, it's yeah, so yeah. I'm sure nonchalantly at some point they're gonna be like, oh, some crazy idea, and that's gonna be somebody else. That's what I feel right now, the smoke and mirrors.
and real talk, like I like what you say there. Again, I think Sega would make a little bit more sense. Also the question is, like, is it a private? Is it a public company? The whole thing with Sega, I don't know about the Twitter post and how verified it is, but like, if they are creating themselves to be a leaner company, then they are definitely looking into a buyout of some sort. That said, as well, if people are like, why doesn't Sony make these type of moves? They don't need to. They're in perfectly fine shape right now with the amount of studios they have. What is it, like 15, 16? And they're all producing the best quality they've been so far. So,
yeah,
what Sony needs to focus on is rather buying smaller studios. Is it really their move?
Yeah, so to add on to it, because I did forget about it, I kind of got wrapped up with Sega. WB, okay, that is, you don't think that the doors are closed, okay? I heard that they're still talking, okay? That's my understanding of it, is there's still communication there about it. I think what it is they found out how much their IPs are actually worth, and they kind of, put it back and don't think that even Sony's not talking to them, okay? Right. The door is still open. It's just the conversations stopped because there's so much news going on that we kind of moved on and forgot about it. But yeah, as far as I know, Microsoft is still in communications about it. I don't think the door is fully closed yet. And will never be. That could be the other one that logically to be that size.
Yeah, for me, when it comes to WB, I think when you have IPs like Harry Potter, like Batman, Mortal Kombat alone, you're talking. I think those IP alone are worth. I think that the stick up there is not so much because I'm agreeing with you here. I don't think they're a good publisher to begin with. You even see it with the like right now they're like, we want most of our games to have a live service attached to them. Like, oh God, no. So they're not great to begin with. So I'd like to see those IP and those developers be treated a little better. But I do think it's like, if a Star Wars is $4 billion, how much is a Batman? How much is a Harry Potter? How much are those huge franchises? And if you're Microsoft, does that amount of money that you're coughing up for it, is it actually going to justify the cost to make it or the profit to gain out of it?
That's actually a fantastic question, and I think actually just glancing over what you said, I think it might be. See, because here's the thing, if you listen to my shows, I love Xbox, I do, but they do things sometimes that just piss me off. And one of them, of course, and I've been banging this drum for quite some time, is not having a Banjo-Kazooie. Now, we talked about it on yesterday's Xbox Factor podcast that Platonic, makers of Yooka-Laylee, are in the process of rebranding, and they got some other things going on, and they said right now it's a big secret. That's all they wanted to put out there. See, for me, my Banjo-Kazooie radar goes off and say, okay, you know what? the studio is comprised of almost it's like in the 90 percentile of all Rare developers, right? So they made Ukulele through Kickstarter. I was a backer on that when they launched that project because I'm a big fan of Banjo-Kazooie, and they're a small enough studio. They fit into that niche. They have just enough people to not be the big AAA studio like a Bethesda, but they have more than enough people, then they're not a single A. So they could be tasked to do a new Banjo-Kazooie, which of course Joe and I are hoping that they do. But when you look at WB, on the other side of the coin, they have superheroes, which, by the way, if you didn't know, are still a fucking thing. Pardon my French. The superheroes kind of sell games. Spider-Man is a perfect example of that. Now, we know that Marvel has opened the doors, along with Star Wars, to have everyone that's anyone to play in their universe, right? Again, that gets me back to I'm pissed off at Microsoft because I think that it behooves them to have their own hero game. Now, I'm a Marvel guy first. I'll be the first one to tell you, but if you're going to tell me that we're going to get an exclusive Batman, a new Arkham, or a reboot, or whatever you want to do with it, I'm all in on that. I am all in on that. So I would like that, but I want to take this a little further. Why I love the WB purchase. And again, like Dreadpool said, and I've heard this, Dreadpool, also, that the door is still open. It's not a completely closed door for Microsoft because they can afford to make the investment. Killer Instinct is and will always be one of my favorite games. I'm
where you
a
going?
fighter game. You know where I'm going because
I know it.
Yeah, because Ed Boon himself said 3 years ago on social media that he would postpone a release of Mortal Kombat to work on a new Killer Instinct. Then the internet went completely apeshit because, quite frankly, could you imagine a Killer Instinct by Ed Boon and that team there? It would be ridiculous. One of the IPs that are just completely sitting on their hands, and it's a brain scratcher to me, is Killer Instinct. Killer Instinct, if you put it on right now, looks like a brand new game, plays like a brand new game, and that was a launch title in 2013. So now you're starting to hit some check boxes. Okay, we got a fighter maker, right? Boom. We get the superhero game. Boom. WB would be the ultimate purchase, and I think that what it could do is not only bring over those IPs to work for Microsoft and to be in Xbox Game Pass. Again, if you are a parent, right? And for instance, they just announced that they're starting working pre-production on a Harry Potter TV series, right? That's basically confirmed, right? The Hollywood Reporter is reporting it. Everyone else is. All the trades are. If you could turn around and say that the next Harry Potter game is in Xbox Game Pass, you're going to get people to listen to what you're talking about because their kids are going to know that Harry Potter game is going to go in there. What better way to get that said people or gamers, regardless of age, into your ecosystem, which again, at the end of the day for Microsoft is what they are looking to push. Joe, am I crazy here?
Well, yeah, I definitely think you're on stuff, man. I definitely think so.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it just comes down to the line of how much are those individual IP? How much does what type of profit WB wants to see out of them, and how much they know they could get out of them. So one thing that we forget about Game Pass is something that I echoed in the middle of the show here. When the rumors of Cyberpunk, remember, it was optimistic, pie in the sky. There was no glitches or bugs. And the rumor was, Cyberpunk's going to be day and date. The one thing that I told y'all is probably not, because they want to see those day one sales.
13.8 million copies after the return, Joe. That was the last time I checked. It's probably closer to 15.
And so when you're taking a look at those numbers, again, like we kind of think that Game Pass or these services are the end all be all. They're very much, if you take a look at the movie industry, they're just a piece of the puzzle. right? So like, you know, when you take a look at the movie industry or TV industry, you have your Netflix, you have your theaters, you have your iTunes, right? You could purchase them outright, you could buy them physical, you can rent them, you can, you know, there's different ways of making money. And
Yeah.
so if I am WB, the last thing I want to do is assure that my thing, my Batman, my precious. If I am, first off, you have to buy those studios, you have to buy those you know, developers, and then you have to rent the IP. So they really they take a look at the Game Pass and go, okay, how's that hurting my bottom line? Like how is that impacting, not hurting, impacting my bottom line, right? How is it impacting those day one sales? More importantly, you know, WB is not like Disney, where Disney could sit back and go, we could focus on quality more than profit. You said something really interesting. AT&T is not doing great. It's in a really bad place. It is bleeding cash. The last thing you want to do is make it so that Batman is only on one platform. So what you really want is you want someone that's going to distribute that to multiple to get the biggest bang for your buck, and then eventually turn them into a Game Pass service. That's I think a lot of things that when we lose track of this, because we take a look at that big giant pie and our eyes, you know, widen, is there is the purely business aspect, and AT&T, if anything, is the most transactional company out there. Remember, they made Universal Studios just so that they can siphon money off of Disney. So the pure, you know, the whole thing behind, you know, the Universal or WB rather, the whole thing of that is, hey, while people are at Disney, maybe they come over here. Like that's the type of company that they are.
See,
And
that's the funny thing. You mentioned that the reason why Universal Studios exists is because the deal between Disney and Universal fell apart. Disney went their way, and Universal got butthurt and said, "You know what? We can do that, if not better." And that's what happened. So, but the other thing is, we also forget, right? Minecraft. It was signed on, right, when they were purchased. Yeah. Part of the purchase deal was
to have those on multiple.
It has to stay multiple
Correct.
consoles. That's part of the contract. They could do the same thing here. It's just red tape, and I'm sure that's why the doors are still open, because they're probably figuring out how we can get the most money out of this. And don't forget, Game Pass is not always the end all be all. You know, so it just depends on what cut they're getting for them to go in there. If Microsoft or Xbox wants to pay them to keep them in Game Pass, they got to give them a good enough deal to say yes. You know, if they think that Batman is worth it, that's where it would fall.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you're talking about studio-owned IPs as opposed to IPs that are borrowed, like kind of like that's what the Batman would be. That's what Harry Potter would be. That's what Lord of the Rings would be. Those IPs carry a significant amount of financial weight. So again, this is we're just spitballing here, folks. We have no idea, but all I can tell you is, again, this has been a great show. This has been a show that has been, we're closing in on 2 hours. I think that, you know, we did a bang up job keeping everyone entertained, hopefully. Before we get on out of here, I do have to catch up with some of the super chats. We have one from Antoine Williams, who drops an outstanding $2 super chat, and he says, Game Pass to Tesla. You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if that happened.
Is it Cuphead on a Tesla already?
They got Steam on it.
You got Steam on it? God damn it, Elon. Someone's got to stop this man.
Good friend of the show, Chaos Theory, not only drops an outstanding $5 super chat. Today is his 40th birthday. Ooh. He says this, celebrating my 40th B-Day with Boom and the crew. A good day. Well, dude, happy birthday from all of us. In the chat, of course, let's show some love. Give this guy a big happy birthday. And of course, 40 years old. My God, I'm 10 years older than you. I feel even older now. But listen, happy birthday, dude. And thanks for always being here, supporting the channel. Thanaros, another generous friend of the show. He drops an outstanding $5 super chat. And Sega, with the backing of Microsoft, would bring them back to glory. Sega's biggest issue currently is they can't afford to take a risk with games. Oh, that's great. That's a great comment, dude. And listen, Crazy Taxi would be dope. A new Altered Beast done in 3D would be super dope.
And again, like these games are like I'm thinking of like Crazy Taxi, they are Game Pass games. Like
They are
when we think
Game
about it,
Pass games.
not every
Indeed.
game needs to be Game of the Year. Some of them just need to be fun and engaging.
Yeah, well, Crazy Taxis is that's a perfect example. I mean, who played Crazy Taxi for 16 hours? Nobody. But if you played it for 5 minutes,
Well,
every Stranger Things, there's a Tiger King. I think that's important.
Me and my friends played it for like a whole weekend straight on the old Dreamcast. Okay, so nowadays maybe nobody.
That percentage is low, but I definitely appreciate that. Y9 Power drops in a $5 super chat. Thanks for being here, dude. Thank you for your generosity. He says this: I get Microsoft wanting people in their ecosystem, but Xbox needs a gateway exclusive game only on Xbox consoles. No PC, no Game Pass. I will buy. Here's the thing with that, dude. I see where you're going, but I think that if you've been following the track of what Microsoft wants to do, they want to be inclusive. They don't want to be exclusive. And that is why PC is Xbox, Xbox is PC. And that's why there's PC Game Pass. That's why there's Xbox Game Pass. And I think that when you do that, when you don't paint yourself into a corner, you open yourself up for way more people on your ecosystem, as opposed to, now I see your point, getting that dope ass, AAA over the shoulder banger that we all want them to have, that we're going to get in Fable or Perfect Dark or Avowed, or the compulsion game that's supposed to be like BioShock meets Uncharted, that we're going to get. But the fact that you don't lock that, when I see what you're saying, and I think that if you were to put those games, like for instance the Bethesda games, and we're going to get into this on Monday's Primetime Gaming, they don't belong on a PlayStation. They just don't, because they're Microsoft first party now. And I know that's going to piss a lot of people off, but Sony has their own first party stuff. They have great games. Let them keep making their games. Microsoft paid $7.5 billion. There's no reason to put one of Bethesda's games on there. But that's just me. Again, that's a dark hole we don't want to go down.
Hey, Boom, how about this? I'll place it that with you right now. I don't think Bethesda's going to be a true exclusive. I think you're going to see them on. You're going to see at least the big ones on PlayStation. I'm willing to bet you.
Okay, I mean, again,
listen, I'm putting something down online here. I'm willing to bet you the superior pizza that is New Jersey pizza. I'll put that online right now.
Don't do it.
I'll get you a pie. I'll get you a pie from Ralph's Pizzeria. It is the most glorious pizza you'll ever have in your life.
I don't know about that.
Well, look. I'll say this. It's going to be very interesting. I just don't think that with trying to sell Game Pass, if you take one of those exclusives and put it on PlayStation, you're not going to get people to invest in your system if they own a Sony platform. You're just not, because there's no reason to do that. What you want to do is kind of what Y9 Power is saying. Take that awesome exclusive and say, okay, if you want to play, and the difference, and again, I'm going to say this on Monday Night Show, I have my notes already written for it. When the difference between a Sony exclusive is Sony keeps it on their ecosystem, they paint themselves into a corner, and they're very happy, they're content with that. When you talk about a Bethesda game for Microsoft as an exclusive, quote unquote, you have to understand there's a difference on how these games are played and the ability to play said game. You have Xbox, you have PC, you have cell phone, you have tablet, and now in 2021, you're going to have TV. So there are a multitude of ways to play these games. And what that basically means is several things. People are buying the games outright if they want, or they're subscribing to your service through with Game Pass, and they're using xCloud, or they're playing on console, or they're playing on their rigs. So it's a very big difference as to what Sony does, painting themselves into a corner. And for that reason is why I don't believe they should or need to be on that PlayStation console, because you just spent $7.5 billion. There's no reason to give the keys to the Mercedes to your neighbor when you bought the car.
Thank you.
I will say this. I am willing to bet. Have you ever been to Joe's Pizza in Greenwich Village?
I have not.
It's literally the greatest pizza I've ever had in my whole entire life. I'll bet you a nice pie.
Well, you know
It's
what?
it'll, it'll,
I'll take you up on that, and yes,
yeah.
and we'll do that. But listen, folks. First of all, we're at the 2 hour mark. Thank you so much for being here. We broke some numbers we haven't broken in a long time.
Nice.
We had almost close to 450 people here, which is pretty dope. And I want to thank you so much for coming, hanging out, enjoying the program. Hopefully you did. If you did, you were nice enough to hit that like button before you get on out of here. And of course, I'll say this: if you're new to the program, please consider subscribing. Here we have fun. With the chat is always the chat is fantastic. We have one of the best chats in gaming, in my opinion. Everyone comes here to just talk games, have fun, and hopefully you guys and gals did that today. Let's get to the outros and get everyone out of here. I'll start with Joe. Joe, obviously you are on loan from PlayStation Nation.
True.
And but you do represent the Xbox brand in a proper manner. But more importantly, the Trophy Room is one of my personal favorite PlayStation podcasts because you guys talk about games. You don't nitpick. You don't go down dark rabbit holes, and you don't you don't poke fun. You're there to just hang out with your best friend Kyle, talk about PlayStation, and occasionally even talk about Xbox. Tell everyone. But where can people reach out to you on social media and potentially subscribe to the Trophy Room?
We have a promise. We never want to troll the Xbox community at all. We always want to give them the respect they deserve. Unless Luke Lore or Sean Capri enter the equation, then I get a little petty just to get under their skin because they suck. Mostly Luke. He's awful. That said, it's gonna be we had a pretty awesome show last week, or this week rather. So please check that out over there on the Trophy Room, a PlayStation show over on YouTube. You could check out the audio versions wherever you find a podcast service. You can find the Trophy Room podcast on there, whether it's Apple Play or we're rushing for 150 in North America reviews on North America. Make it 5 stars. We're giving away games. That's how we're going to be doing it. So if we reach 155-star reviews on iTunes, we give you a shout out. We give you a free game. It's all that.
I love it. I love what you're doing at the channel. Love that you're making some. Hold on a second. Okay, I thought I was on mute. I'm glad that, and you're gonna have Greg Miller on the show in the next couple weeks, which is pretty freaking cool.
Maybe I'll be on some shows. Who knows? We gotta.
Well, you're gonna have to tug his ear for me. You're gonna have to drop a $5 Patreon subscription into his pocket from me, and say, check out Double Barrel Gaming. Greg, he's a fan, and he'd like to be on it, and I'll buy you a slice of pizza. How about that? Real quick, acute perspective. First of all, welcome to the program, dude. He drops an outstanding $3 super chat. Says Killer Instinct tournament on Twitch rivals February 1st. Oh, dude, I didn't even know about that. Thank you. I will definitely check that out. Crispy Bomb, let's get you on out of here, brother. What shows are you guest appearing on outside of Breakfast with Boom? Where could people potentially get cut in half by your stout chainsaw? And where could people reach out to you on social media?
Always a pleasure, gentlemen. Thank you, chat, for waking up with us. Much appreciate it. At Chrissy Bomb on Twitter, Chrissy Bomb 28 Xbox Live. Hit me up. I would like to hit 500 friends soon. I'm getting close, so let's do it. And Retro Renegade 7 p.m. Tuesday nights. Thursday night 8 p.m. the next podcast, and of course I'll be back here Friday morning 10 a.m. Breakfast with Boo.
Well, thank you so much for being here. As always, dude, and love having you a part of the show each and every week, and definitely appreciate the banter as always. Last and in no way least, Dreadpool, why don't you tell people about Breaking Bread with Dread? Where could people reach out to you for a conversation on social media? And where could people subscribe to your YouTube channel?
All right, so I'll go down the line like I always do. Twitter, Dreadpool, the O's are actually zeros. YouTube, Gamertag, and Stadia. I am still on Stadia, and I'm actually growing more and more friends, believe it or not.
Nice.
It's really funny. I mean, I'm rarely on there, but it's cool to see that people are giving it a try, because this is going to be pushing more against xCloud and more against Luna. So this helps gaming. Okay, I don't care what you guys say about Stadia. Yeah, it sucks. It's not what they promised us. but they're working on it just like xCloud is working on it. So everything all above, Dreadpool, all caps, all letters. Breaking Bread with Dread, which you guys heard about it, I'm sure, on the outros from last week or this past week's Primetime Gaming. I had Clowns and Italian Clowns and Tempest Sun. God, I put them together.
Hilarious.
Well, they
have
literally,
merged to become
yeah,
a mega human.
they both literally sat on either side of me. We started, I'm setting up and I look over to ask them so we could take pictures of our pizzas because we went to Mod Pizza and Clowns only had 2 slices left.
Wow.
He literally scarfed it down. It was so good. And yeah, it was a great show. So definitely check it out. It's on anchor.fm/Dreadpool. So just look up Breaking Bread with Dread out there. And from there, you can find it on a whole bunch of different podcasts. Spotify, Google, Apple. It's all over the place. So every week, you can find me in Gaming Beyond the Box Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Obviously, every Friday mornings here at 10 a.m. And then Four Guys with Quarters when we do the interviews. So I'm out there to help out Italian Clowns when I can with the interviews, and he's got some good interviews lined up coming up. So keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, he's been doing a lot of good work over at Four Guys with Quarters. But listen, gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. Chat, I want to thank you for making Double Barrel Gaming relevant and tuning in for all of the live and, of course, now videos that are coming weekly. Of course, I want to thank the very generous super chats that came in. And quite frankly, there was a shit ton today. And like I said, I expect nothing, and I'm always tremendously humbled by the generosity of this amazing community. And of course, I want to wish everyone a fantastic weekend. Please be safe, wear a mask, don't take chances. And I'm going to close out the show with something that's important to me. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dear old dad taught us when we were kids. He used to say, son, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, and I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone, and we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Breakfast with Boom.